What if an appliance emergency didn't have to be? If your appliances suddenly decided they were done, don't stress. Best Buy has you covered with a wide variety of major appliances from trusted brands, in stock and available now. So you don't have to worry about laundry piling up, refilling the fridge, or that big dinner party you're hosting. Because Best Buy has the knowledge and expertise to get you the right appliance for your home. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
It is a work of cinematic genius, a superhero film that both defines and defies the genre. Its very presence changes everything you have ever thought you knew about live-action Marvel films and puts every other title to shame. And if you believe that, I have some swampland in Australia to sell you. I'm also here to see if Man-Thing is not that bad. Welcome, one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades and B movies. Hello to all of our listeners in Dunstable, England, and around the world. How the heck are you guys doing? You know, every now and then, I have to let my geek flag fly. And if you were here last week, you know that happened when we talked about Kraven the Hunter. But we're going deeper into the abyss of live action Marvel movies this time, because this time we're talking Man-Thing. And no, that is not a euphemism for anything else. It is a movie called Man-Thing that exists. And here to join me, because he exists, Lyle Robshaw's back on the show. Lyle, how you doing, man?
I am so excited, Jason. This is one obscure doesn't even kind of cover it. This is a very, very deep cut from the doldrums of comic book fandoms, both in terms of characters and in terms of movies. Kind of hard to believe there was a movie made out of this so long before Marvel started digging into the catalog and kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right. The other thing too is we have to preface this. This is the first of 2 live action appearances by Man-Thing, because of course the character made an appearance in Werewolf by Night on Disney Plus. And you know what?
That was awesome.
It was very
Werewolf
awesome.
by Night is awesome. And that is, we'll get into it more as we go, but that is the correct version of this character.
Yes.
That you see in Werewolf by Night. Not just written better, cinematography better, and just, better, period. But it's a stark contrast of before comic book movies became a really big thing and everyone started to care a lot, and what happened when Marvel was like, screw it, take the rights, do whatever you want, which is exactly what happened here.
Oh, we're going to get into that, because trust me when I say, when you start to do a little bit of deep diving into everything that was Man-Thing and how it came to be and how it came to end and so many other things, it is fascinating. But before we get into that, we need to take this little known Marvel movie and trailerize it.
From the studio that tried to pass off Thomas Jane as the Punisher comes a film that will try to pass off a walking, grunting pile of coleslaw as the guardian of the Nexus, yet never explain what the hell that means. Kyle Williams is the new sheriff in town, and by the end of the film, maybe the only one left in town. He's looking to hunt down a killer in the swamp as dead bodies keep turning up. Along the way, he'll arrest, let go without charging, and with no build-up whatsoever, fall in love with Terry Richards, a woman who knows everything about everyone in Bywater. Together, based on no evidence, a really vague clue about something in Darkwater, and okay, look, this film makes no sense, okay? There's something vaguely man-shaped with more tentacles squelching wetly than Vecna, and even less character motivation. There's some bald guy in a raincoat walking around the swamp like it's a Timu I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel, and so many flashy, trippy transition edits that I felt like I was just fed subliminal messages. Matthew Leneves and Rachel Taylor star in Man-Thing. Rated R for row, row, row your boat gently down the chemically polluted swamp.
That might be my favorite trailer you've ever done, honestly.
Oh my dear God, there's a lot in this film, and trust me when I say you need to pack your patience, you need to pack a whole lot of disbelief, and probably some edibles along the way to make any of it make sense.
I've never seen so much come from nothing. You said there's a lot to unpack here, but it's a lot of nothing.
It's a lot of nothing that leads to nowhere. But let's get into who is in this movie. The movie stars Matthew Leneves, Rachel Taylor. Yes, the cinematic debut of the actress who would go on to play Trish Walker, as also known as Hellcat, in Jessica Jones. Jack Thompson, Rairi Paritan, Alex O'Loughlin, Steve Bastoni, Brett Leonard, and Conan Stevens, who played Man-Thing. And if I messed up any of those names, I deeply apologize. But hey, I'm just learning some of these names myself. The movie was directed by Brett Leonard and produced by Artisan Entertainment. For the record, this is the last ever film produced by Artisan, preceded, of course, by the Thomas Jane Punisher film. Now, let me explain. Artisan Entertainment got the rights to a bunch of Marvel characters before the MCU even existed. They had plans they were basically going to canon films the crap out of everything. Because they were like, yeah, we're not going to do all these super expensive films. We're just going to put out a bunch of movies. Canon Films did that, and we got Nuclear Man and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. But listen to the characters that they had plans for movies, all right? Aside from The Punisher, and aside from Man-Thing, which did exist, they had plans for a Captain America film, Black Panther, Deadpool, Iron Fist, Morbius, Longshot, Power Pack, Mort the Dead Teenager, and Ant-Man.
They had plans for a Mort the Dead Teenager movie?
Yep.
That's actually incredible. I would watch that, and I want it to be made by these guys because it would be just as bad as it should be.
Oh, dear God. Like, I can only imagine this was going to end up being like the canon films of everything. And, I mean, Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds had to do Deadpool. There's no question. I'd be curious what they would have done with an Iron Fist.
I would be curious to what they do. I like the idea of basically doing an asylum films for Marvel properties. Like, hey, if you don't have any place in Disney's MCU, we'll ship you down to these guys, and you're going to be in basically a B superhero movie, but it's going to be a Marvel B superhero movie. So it's going to be made on a shoestring budget. We're going to fire it out as quick as we can. And like Longshot is never going to get a movie.
No.
Like even the fact that Wonder Man's getting one, like a show, is incredible to me. But those characters are so across the board, it's not even funny. Like you've got the big time players like Captain America, and then you have Mort the Dead Teenager, and Longshot. So no cohesiveness obviously between all of these, and they were just going to try to pump them out as quick as they could. But I would very much love to see a Captain America done in this style. It would be so hilariously bad.
Didn't we get that already with like a couple of bad Captain America live action movies before this?
Yeah, but those get a pass for the sign of the times. That was way back in like the 60s, I believe.
No, there was a 90s one. There was a 90s one that was made for TV, and it was not good.
Is that the one where he's basically in just motorcycle gear the entire time?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Those are one of the older ones. The 90s one is the one where the dude had like the fake ears outside of the Captain America helmet.
I do not know what you're talking. I have to look this up because that sounds hilarious.
It is so bad. And like Red Skull is like not necessarily red and very Italian instead of German.
I mean, still in the Axis, I guess. Like, just pick a different country.
It doesn't make it any better.
But it's strange to me, with the benefit of hindsight, obviously, because now we live in a world where every Marvel property is guarded in Gringotts Bank 30 stories below the ground by armed guards and the FBI. Like, they don't let their properties get in the hands of anybody. Even the smallest projects are scrutinized and treated with like a fine tooth comb of like reworks and no, this won't work. The fact that there used to be an age where you could just buy in bulk 20 big time Marvel properties
And Mort the Dead
just
Teenager.
and Mort the Dead Teenager and just shotgun them out to see, if any of them would make money is insane. Like the how far we've come and how different the film landscape is nowadays.
And I mean, the other thing too is you can't even take a look at some of the other comic book companies out there. Like DC obviously wouldn't do this. Image Comics is not going to do it. They're going to protect their properties. ID Comics is not going to do that. They're going to protect. Everyone knows, right? Content is king, and if you have any kind of character that's going to make any kind of noise, you're going to want to hold on to it, protect it, and do it yourself. Marvel proved that you could do it, and if it's done properly, you don't have to, mortgage your property characters out for someone else. The other thing too is they filmed this in Australia.
Yeah, and you can tell.
Yeah,
you can 100% tell.
But the thing is, that meant Marvel wasn't checking in on production.
Oh, you could tell. I the biggest thing I have about this movie is that this is so far from the comic book version of Man-Thing. The only thing that is similar is the look of the character, which I will say, when he shows up on screen, that is Man-Thing.
Yeah.
And it's not horrible CGI for 2005. The only thing that is comic accurate is the look of the monster once you get a good solid look at him, which of course does not happen until the final 25 minutes of this movie. Like, you get strange edit cuts and weird lighting flashbacks and slow motion red filtered viewpoints of the monster. But when you do see him, that's Man-Thing. It does look serviceable at best, but everything else completely whack. There is not a single smidge of comic book accuracy in this. So it makes me think, like I said, I wonder what would have happened when they got their hands on Captain America.
Oh, dear God.
What would have happened there? Like, how, if they just didn't care and were like, slap the Marvel name on it, pump it out, see what happens. Like, what does that version of Captain America look like? What does that version of Deadpool look like?
Not anywhere near what we got.
They probably wouldn't have made it Canadian, and then we would have rioted.
The film had a budget of $5 million. Worldwide, it only made $1.1 million. Keep in mind, this film was not released domestically in the theaters. All that box office came from Spain, the United Arab Emirates, and Russia. Why, do you ask? Well, apparently during a test screening, this according to IMDb, people were leaving before the movie even finished.
Very famously, a couple of the comic book writers that had worked on Man-Thing were invited to those test screenings, and they were not happy. So from my research, apparently word got out pretty quick before this movie was released through the actual comic book community at the time. And everyone was basically told that this is a absolute blacklist item. It's not good because, like you said, there was no input whatsoever from the actual creative people that were behind this character. So it's just a recipe for disaster. And why did Spain get thrown under the bus is my question.
No idea, but that's where most of that money, most of that 1.1 million came from Spain.
I'm so sorry to all of my friends in Barcelona.
But the reason why we are here, of course, are the critics. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a tomatometer and a popcorn meter of 14% each. At IMDb, it says at 4.1 stars out of 10 for a 41% score. Letterboxd, 1.8 out of 5 stars for a 36% score. And the movie database, 43%, giving this film an aggravated aggregate of 29.6%.
That is abysmally low.
I wonder if the IMDb score was accidentally reversed, because 14% sounds about right.
14%. When I went into this, I'd seen this before a long time ago in my youth when I was beginning to get into comic books, and it was, I need to consume every bit of media that I can on this. And back then there wasn't a whole lot, and it was peaks and valleys, my friend, peaks and valleys. We had Daredevil coming out around the same time as this. Also the early Fantastic Four movies, which were really good, but it's just, I wanted to see everything. So I did watch this close after it did come out. So going back and kind of having a general knowledge of it, I was guessing it was going to be between 15 and 20.
See, this feels like an entire YouTube channel, like Trailer comes out, guess the percentage.
That's actually a fantastic idea. Guess how good this is going to be.
Or not.
Wherever Bud goes, his harmonica goes with him. It's a pocket full of soul. Now he's living with prostate cancer. He asked his doctor about Xtandi enzalutamide. Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache. Talk to your doctor and visit Xtandi.com.
Picture this. Me, Reese Witherspoon, in London, ordering fish and chips so often they might start wrapping me in paper. I'm traveling with my Wells Fargo autographed Journey card, so I earn rewards wherever I book travel. 5 times points with hotels, 4 times with airlines, 3 times on restaurants and other travel, and 1 point on other purchases. Imagine getting rewarded for eating a toad in the hole. Wait, what is a toad in a hole?
Visit wellsfargo.com/autograph journey. Terms apply.
Whether it's a movie night or just midday, Skinny Pop is a salty snack that keeps on giving. Made with just 3 simple ingredients for an irresistibly delicious taste and a large serving size that lasts. Deliciously popped, perfectly salted. Skinny Pop, popular for a reason. Shop Skinny Pop now.
But let's get into the breakdown of this film. We start, of course, with Matthew Leneves as Sheriff Kyle Williams. Your thought on the main actor in this?
There's actually a big snafu in this movie. Right when him and the love interest are about to go into the dark water, he almost shows some emotion there for 5 seconds. And that's the big snafu in this movie. That's a production error because he talked in the exact same monotoned, flat voice for the entire movie. It did not matter if he was kissing his love interest, Terry, at a very random time that made absolutely no sense, which happens like 3 times.
Yeah.
Didn't matter if he was actively firing a shotgun at a giant forest god or arguing with protester. Same monotone voice, which sometimes had an accent and sometimes didn't. It just absolutely baffling that was the main guy.
Yeah. I mean, yes, a lot of these actors are Australian because, of course, they're hiring local. I didn't know Rachel Taylor was Australian. I learned something while watching this.
I actually did know that. I think that was through my research of Jessica Jones when it came out, because Jessica Jones is amazing.
Jessica Jones season 1 is the personal opinion single best season from the Marvel Netflix years.
It's a hard toss up for their best season of anything, period, I think, between that, Moon Knight, and Loki.
Yeah. But I mean, like when you have David Tennant as the Purple Man.
As one of his best roles.
Yeah.
And one of the darkest Marvel characters that exists. I can't believe they went into the depths of depravity that character goes into in the books. It was very fun to see. But yeah, everyone in this movie is Australian, and the movie is supposed to take place in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of Australian people trying to put on a Cajun accent. And anyone who hasn't seen that movie, whatever you're thinking right now, you are correct.
Yeah, this film feels like revenge for every single one of us who said, I put another strip on the Bobby.
Yeah, 100%. It makes Channing Tatum's, I'm about to make a name for myself in here, look like a study in voice work.
I mean, there's one scene in here where I actually liked him in it. It was after he had arrested Terry from the protest and brings her back to the station, and he finally stops and starts to actually listen to her. And I'm like, okay, here's a moment I can kind of get behind him in this. But you're right. The rest of the film, he is one note Joe through the whole thing.
Yep. And unfortunately, a lot of these characters are. There's not a lot of like emotional development. You don't see a lot of different, turns from anybody. They all stay at the same level that you see them at the first time. You see them at that same level for this entire hour and a half movie. Terry stays at the, spunky local legend who knows absolutely every human being in this town, their backstory, who their parents are. Like me being from New Brunswick, I know that's how it is here, but this is supposed to be like New Orleans, Louisiana. It's a much bigger place. So it's very, very exhausting. There's times where you could jump into this movie, show me a clip from an hour in, and show me a clip from the first 30 seconds, and I would not be able to tell you when it takes place.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to pair the sheriff with a character who does know everyone there because, of course, he's new to the town. He's, riding in on his little skiff boat, which probably had the funniest one line of the entire film. It was like, why is this called, why is this town called Bywater? Because it's by the water. That's where that's where the funny ends.
Funny. But and that's in like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
But I mean, you can pull references to, foreigner comes into new town and instantly meets someone who knows everyone in town, and that's kind of like their anchor to it. You go back to, I think it was like the very first edition of Rom the Space Knight comic book, where Rom crashes into Clarington and meets Brandy Clark, and Brandy knows everybody in town, and Rom is, well, Rom. Like that's part of comic book lore. So I kind of get that. Just give them some emotion.
Give both of them some emotion.
Well, I'm willing to give Rachel Taylor as Terry Richards a little bit of leeway because remember, this is her very first film. Matthew Lillivaz has been around for a little bit by this point, but Rachel Taylor in her first Marvel role, your thoughts?
I think serviceable is the word. I'll think she's not the main lead. And I will say the main lead is enhanced by her presence. Whenever they're on screen together, he is much better because she has this like spunky attitude to her. There is a little bit more urgency with her than there is with him. And of course, she's the driving force behind, like, you have to believe this. Look at all this nonsense that's happening. Like, come on. Like, it's a very almost like Mulder and Scully from X-Files, except that it's gender reversed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like he's the non-believer and she's the one that has all this evidence stacked in front of you. Like, literally the number is 47 missing persons cases.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still just like, I don't know. I think it's this one random raincoat guy walking around in the woods killing all these people. It's like, how much suspension of disbelief am I supposed to have? Like, obviously something bigger is going on here.
Yeah. I mean, also, by the way, if you take a look at that bulletin board full of wanted posters, take a look very closely. Not wanted, but like missing photos. Take a look very closely. Apparently one of them is a picture of Stan Lee.
Oh, I didn't know that. That would make sense, though, because every single Marvel anything, he always has his cameo, so that makes me happy.
Yeah. Even in the worst Marvel films, Stan Lee would still stand behind.
He's always there. He's always standing around and standing by his stuff, even if it's a butchering of that stuff.
The thing, too, is that, you're right. She is decent enough in this. The character is written to be the answer to everything, right? She's a third grade teacher. She's an environmentalist. She's friendly with the whole town. She seems to know everybody about everything, including about some, weird, mystic, dark water, sacred land. She is the Bywater encyclopedia. Like, I'm surprised that
she's also the one that, of course, is the surrogate daughter of the, indigenous person out in the woods who just happened to be best friends with the guy who turned into Man-Thing.
Yeah.
Which is, again, completely off kilter from the actual origin of Man-Thing. It's just, she is most definitely the MacGuffin. Like, she is the fix-all. Like, if anything happens, any conflict, it always circles back to, well, we have to go talk to Terry, which makes sense. It is a comic book movie, and there's usually at least one of these characters. But the thing is, that character's usually the lead. Like, usually the hero of this movie almost feels like he's kind of the background character. And he's just the vessel to move between all of these other characters. Like, everybody around him at least has something going on. But the only thing he has is the dumb Yankee that's new in town, like you said.
Yeah. When you put it that way, too, when you realize he's not even the one that stopped Swamp Thing. Like, yeah. It's Renee.
Yeah. He's not the one to blow him up in the end. He just took a bunch of pot shots at him that do absolutely nothing. But and it all happens so quick. The ending of this movie, the last 10 minutes are just like set piece after set piece, go, 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 go. It absolutely slow burn, slow burn, slow burn, and then explodes literally very quickly. I think we needed so much more Man Thing in a movie called Man Thing.
Right. The other thing too is like this romantic angle completely out of
Oh
nowhere.
my god. Oh my god, crowbarred in there. Like they kiss at the most random, awkward, not romantic times. Like there's one point somebody literally just died. He just watched his partner get exploded into bits and they're walking out of the swamp that first time and that is their first kiss. Like, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just the romantic tension is not there. You just watch somebody die. You're waist deep in alligator infested water in Louisiana and watched a god kill somebody. And your first resource is, well, shoot or shoot. So you gotta go try when you can, I guess. But it's just, yeah, the romantic angle is so forced.
When the dead bodies are piling up and the moment strikes you, you get that girl. Alex O'Loughlin, who plays Deputy Frazier, your thoughts on him?
He was actually pretty funny. And he's the one in the movie, like there's that character in B movie, the guy that was dating the girl, where you're just like, this guy's right. Everything he's saying is correct, but I'm supposed to not like him because he doesn't want to go in. He's just like, I'm not going in there. I don't want to do this. I'm afraid, and people are dying, and there's something really weird going on here. And it's just like, yeah, he is the person in a very far-fetched movie who's the only one that reacts like a normal human being would.
Yeah. The most real, like I'm telling you, if I'm in a town, if I'm the deputy in a town with 47 missing people and dead bodies piling up in a swamp that is being chemically polluted by some evil corporation, you darn right I'm going to want to handcuff myself to my own bed so I don't have to go outside.
Yeah. And was one of the better monologues of the movie is when he said that, like when I'm handcuffing myself to my bed because I'm afraid to go to work. And it's like, yeah, any police officer, I think, in that situation would be when you're pretty sure there's a monster murdering people.
Meanwhile, Captain One Emotion is like, oh, okay. Don't have a breakdown on the job. Wow.
Like that would not fly today. I don't, because it's just like everybody would be terrified. You're the only one that's not terrified is because you don't have the ability to feel emotions.
Like
you have to carry an EpiPen in your pocket just in case you smile.
You're new. He's been around a while. Maybe listen to the local.
Yeah, especially the one that's been working on this case for a long time. And that's another thing with suspension of disbelief. I know it's a comic book movie. This is a horror movie trope too, because Man Thing is marketed as a horror movie. The Man Thing comic book was more a horror comedy, is what more they were going for. I have read some Man Thing both previously and in preparation for this. How much suspension of disbelief do we have to believe? Because 47 people are missing. At one point, an entire oil rig range gets sabotaged by something, and you have several people telling you that something crazy is going on. Even at one point, Terry is like, we should just call the FBI. And Kyle is like, no, they're going to take too long. If you call the FBI and tell them 50 people are dead and you're pretty sure there's a terroristic plot going on in the swamp, they're going to show up like today. They have jets. Like they're going to show up.
Oh, man. When Asylum movies make more sense than a Marvel movie.
Exactly. There's so much of this that just, it makes sense in a bottle. Like if you watch parts of this as like 45-second clips on Instagram or something like that, you're like, all right, well, this looks pretty cool. But when you put them all together, it's just, the plots go like this. Like whatever's convenient at the time to move them on to the next scene that has Man Thing killing someone, that's where we're going to go.
Like I'm looking at a movie like Mega Python versus Gatoroid that has Debbie Gibson and Tiffany in it, one of the films by the Asylum. And you have a movie where, yeah, toxic chemicals get dumped into the swamp and it irradiates creatures and they become huge. How is that a better film than this?
Anaconda. That's what I was thinking of watching this whole movie. The Anaconda movie is kind of the same plot, except it all takes place on like one river. But it's still like, it's not that difficult of a concept to execute. It is a big monster in the woods that's killing. It's an environmental monster in the woods in this instance, but it's not that difficult to pull off and make semi-believable. But you're trying to throw so much stuff in here. Like the original origin story of Man Thing makes so much more sense than what they went with here. The original story of Man Thing is that they were working on the super soldier serum and trying to make another Captain America. And the guy that was working on its wife was secretly working for AIM. And they storm in. He injects himself with it because he's like, I'm not letting you guys get your hands on it. So I'm injected. That's what Ted Sallis from this movie is. He injects himself with it, crashes his car while running away into the swamp, and it all turns him into Man Thing. With this, they just overcomplicate the bejesus out of it. Now it's like, no, there was a, former indigenous chief and he maybe sold the land to the oil people, or maybe he didn't, or maybe it was Raincoat Guy out in the woods and then they killed him for saying too much and buried him under an oil rig, and then magic happened and now he's Man Thing. And it's just, you had it written for you already. Why did we change so much?
Yeah, it's the Coles Notes version that ends up like a bastard love child of Swamp Thing and the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, 100%. Also, very important to point out, because I know everybody's going to Google all this and be like, this is just Swamp Thing. Man Thing actually came first.
Yes, but both of them are derivative of the Heap.
Yeah, it's kind of a monster story that's happened several times, even going all the way back. Druid-like creature that is born from the forest to defend itself from humans, basically. That is both Swamp Thing and Man Thing. However, Swamp Thing is more of like the actual guardian of the green.
Yes.
Swamp Thing actively fights environmental related issues, whereas Man Thing is more of a Frankenstein's monster, an
Yes.
unfortunate creation that doesn't quite know what it is. Like, is not vengeful like it is in this movie. In most of the books, everybody that dies or suffers at the hands of Man Thing, it's an accident.
Keep in mind, too, the character of Man Thing was created by the same guy who created the character of Howard the Duck.
Incredible. That man's a genius.
Rory Paraten, and again, apologies if I mess up the name, as Peter Horn. Your thoughts on him?
One of the better characters. I think he played it really well, especially this, it's an unfortunate typecast thing, especially in older movies. It's the native indigenous person who knows the magic is afoot and knows that something bad's going to happen. One of the better scenes is when Kyle and Terry go to his cabin to ask him questions about what he thinks is going on. And he gets stressed out when they start talking about how many people are dying. And they walk away, and then it shows a dream catcher that he's made that is in the shape of Man Thing. I think that's one of the better points of this movie is Pete Horn, the character.
But it does feel like the character is written based on really dated Hollywood stereotypes.
Really dated stereotype. It's such a dated stereotype. Thankfully, he plays it very well.
Yeah.
And makes it, like I said, one of the brighter points of this movie. But there's a lot of things that are very stereotyped when it comes to indigenous cultures in this, because they think just saying, oh, he just summoned magic and became, like, they don't give it enough explanation. They just say it's magic. They can do magic, so go ahead.
Yeah,
like,
but of course, like, he drops the thing, it's the guardian of the next. It's like, and then you never explain anything beyond that.
Which, as a comic book, that frustrates me to no end, because you didn't have to say that. You could have just had this be its own thing. You didn't have to mention the Nexus, because that's what Man Thing ends up being once he becomes transformed in the books. He obviously contacts things on the other side because his origin is magical, and he becomes this guardian of the crossroads of universes, basically. You weren't going to go into that in this movie. You were never going to do any of that. So why would you mention it in a 10-second speech just to have people go, wonder what that is, wonder what that means? Because you're never going to have enough time in an hour and a half movie to get into all that.
Yeah, I mean, like, the whole talking in riddles and rhymes and whatnot, like again, very, very tropey. But and I feel bad because Peter is the first character that we see get picked up by the Man Thing and go into like the weird, like, head moving kind of stroby kind of, having the life drawn out of him thing. And I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my God, this is done so cheesy.
Oh, it went full B movie. It went full B movie there. And because it's been a long time since I've seen it. And again, I keep referencing back to the book just because there's so many inaccuracies here. My nerd hat is firmly on now. We're in the dark waters now. But in the books, That's Man-Thing's whole thing. That's why he accidentally kills innocent people at times. He feeds off emotion. So when he senses negative emotion, his skin secretes acid and it burns people. That's why the tagline of the book was all those who feel will burn at the touch of the Man Thing. So I thought what was going to happen when he was going up and like shaking his stick and like trying to go into the dark water and face this thing and get it for himself. He said, "I'm not afraid of you." I thought something interesting was going to happen and Man Thing was going to leave him alone because, well, if he doesn't feel fear, nothing should happen here. But again, this isn't the comic accurate version. This thing's just out for revenge. He's just killing anybody that he comes across, which doesn't make any sense. This
No.
character's supposed to be like a tortured figure that doesn't remember it was once human and is like trying to figure out what happened to itself. It's not supposed to be this like, you know, Greta Thunberg, I'm killing everybody that's ever been close to an oil rig character, which is what it is in this movie. It just feels like it's an excuse to make a slasher film with a big tree beast, which cool, I get that, but why take this property and turn it into that?
Steve Bastoni as Rene LaRocque. And maybe it's because the whole thing was set in a swamp. But of course, Fred Schist is calling him, Rennie. And I'm like, well, Remy LeBeau is here? No, Remy LeBeau is not here. We get
Here.
Rene, not Rennie, Rene LaRocque. Your thoughts on him?
This guy unfortunately got the wrong plane ticket. He did sign up for a Marvel movie, but he got lost on the way to the set of Blade and showed up here because he's just walking around in a black trench coat in the woods for the entire movie. His entire reason for being is to be the one that explains what happened between the indigenous group and the oil company. That's his. I don't know why that wasn't Pete Horn, because this guy shows up 3 or 4 times in the movie just to be an exposition dump and then disappears as mysteriously as he shows up wearing the most ridiculous costume in this entire movie. And he did it okay, and there is parts where the intensity that he brings is cool. I like it when he had Kyle tied up in the tree upside down and he's like, "What are you doing, joining the hunt?" I'm like, it is cool, and he felt very comic booky, which a lot of the characters in this movie did not.
Yeah.
For a comic book movie, it didn't have the like energy to it, the kind of campiness, playful camp. Like he was a dastardly seeming character, and you kind of weren't sure whether he was on the right side or the wrong side. So I liked the idea, but they didn't sprinkle him in enough, and he did seem like he was just there for an exposition dump every once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is he's also the red herring for anyone who doesn't know Man-Thing lore.
Yeah, it's true. He's the one that explains basically everything. Like other than Pete, and he doesn't talk in riddles. He tells you straight up into your face, here's what happens. And like we said, he for some reason is the one that ends up setting off the explosives in the end. I think in a bid to take him off the map too. So we had all the loose ends tied up for the most abrupt credit sequence in the world. Like there's no like you're just telling me they walked out of that swamp, went back to the diner from the start of the movie, ate breakfast, and went about their lives, and there was no repercussions for a mini nuke going off in the middle of the woods. Like,
Also, it's in a swamp. Not just a swamp, but a swamp that's been tainted with chemicals. You have to think the methane in that area is going to singe everybody.
As a firefighter, yeah, that's going to be like a class night event. The FBI is definitely getting involved after the bomb goes off. So yeah, he did feel more like a plot device than a character, but hey, he looked cool. He had a cool leather jacket.
Yeah, the town of Bywater will not return in Avengers Doomsday if that explosion happens. Speaking of stereotypes, John Bachalo and Ian Bliss as the Thibodeau brothers. Oh, dear God. Just hand these two a couple of banjos at this point.
It's honestly, and they're in the most rinky-dink boats. My favorite thing about them is when they're out by themselves, and you can see the actors struggling to keep the boats from tipping over because they were made of balsa wood or something. And like this is one of the he gets taken out while he's taking a dump. Like it's just the like what is happening? At some point we have to sit and go, what is happening with these guys? I did like the scene where Kyle shows up to their taxidermy business and they're cooking alligator skulls to sell to tourists. And there's like I'm like this is good. There's some tension here. It reminded me of the show Justified, which I really like. And I was like, this is actually some crime investigation going on. There's emotions here. He's trying to figure out what's going on. They had a good flash in the pan moment, but then after that, they were very much like the Cruella de Vil thugs. Like, here's the two guys that are both comic relief and supposed to be mildly threatening when called upon.
Yeah. Redneck Bayou, Rosencrantz, and Guildenstern. It's basically what you're dealing with.
1000%. Exactly.
Brett Leonard as Val Merrick. So here's the coroner, as played by the director. Your thoughts on him?
If someone came in, died of a heart attack, he would say it's an alligator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone walks in with 9 gaping holes in their chest with plants growing out of them. Oh, that was an alligator. What kind of alligators do you have around here? Is my question. Like, I understand what they were trying to do because it is later explained in the movie that he was told by Schism, the oil companies, that anybody that comes through here that's death looks suspicious, make it look like they died of an alligator attack, because of course Schism was also killing people to, put forth their nefarious oil rig schemes. But yeah, funny, but not funny for the right reasons. He played it very serious, but especially when the second body is found and he's like, no, this is a textbook alligator attack. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah. I mean, if you're using this character as some kind of comedic relief, because I mean, every decent film has some kind of comedic relief. Okay, I can see that. And then, making him like the chain smoker that ever chain smoked. That's almost like giving a character that's a Nicolas Cage tool right there, is give the character something to do and call it like a character quirk. It's kind of like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like Ghost Rider eating jelly beans out of a champagne glass.
Yeah, it's complete nonsense. He was one of the brighter points, just because every time he showed up, I was like, he's gonna say it's an alligator, isn't he? And then he immediately does, and it was very funny every time it happened.
Jack Thompson as Fred Schist. Holy ham-handed scripting here, but your thoughts on the actual bad guy?
You know what I'm going to say. You already know what I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And I think there was a point when you could tell he knew. I think there was a point, I saw it in the part right at the beginning when he throws his arm around him and he's like, how you doing, buddy? Like, blah, 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 blah. He knew exactly what he was in. He understood the assignment, and he was like, I am in a comic book movie. I am the evil corporate villain. Everything except sit and stroke a cat and smoke a cigar in a big armchair. He did everything except for that. Played it up to 1,000. For a comic book movie, very good job. I think he was a bright spot. Because it's like, there's a guy who understands the assignment. If you're going in, even if it's bad, at least make it campy and turn up the comic bookiness a little bit. There was a couple really good exchanges by him that I liked, like when Kyle walked away and he turns to his son, Yankee cocksucker. It's funny. There was a couple very genuinely funny moments with him. As a villain, not really that threatening. He usually just sends the buffoons after them and doesn't really do a whole lot himself until the final act, when he goes off into the swamp on that whole 3-legged chase between Kyle, Terry, him and his son, Renee, and Man Thing's there too. That's kind of the big opus. But for the parts that he was around and like jibbing on Kyle and kind of saying like, yeah, this guy from up north, he don't know what he's talking about. Like, I liked him. I did like him.
Yeah. I mean, there is definitely some Saturday morning villain energy going on here, and complete, like, almost like Mad Brian Dennehy kind of energy. But the thing too is, like, can the script be a little bit more subtle? Like, I get this film is subtle like a sledgehammer, but can we dial it back a little bit? Fred Schist rhymes with fascist. Okay, so we got that checked off. Evil CEO break environmental laws, very 2005. When your company logo looks like someone took Pink Floyd's Walking Hammer logo from the wall and turned it sideways, said that should be definitely obvious symbolism, because we all know what that's a symbol of to begin with. Like, let's dial it back a little bit here. We don't need to be as didactic as it is. Like, this is, you may as well just put a cartoon bubble over top of his character going, the villain enters the room. Like,
yeah,
dial it back a touch.
And you know what's hilarious? There's two notes I have here on this that hit exactly what you said on the head. Number one with a bullet is this movie is written like a Scooby Doo cartoon. There's a big monster, there's an evil corporation behind it, and that evil corporation guy is the most obvious evil corporation guy you've ever seen. The other thing that bugs me, Shizza from the books. This character from the book, Scheist from the books. The logo, exactly, from the books. Why the hell are you so accurate with all these little throwaway, these don't matter details, but you're not accurate with the main meat and potatoes of the story? Why did you comic accurate with the villain all the way, but the hero and main thing of this, it doesn't make any sense to me why they would make the logo on their shirts, the little hammers, comic accurate, but everything else isn't. What is that? Like, is that our one tidbit of, hey, if you read the comics, here's the one thing you're gonna recognize before this all goes off the rails?
Yeah, I mean, and we all know that comic book movies need to service the fans. We get that. And if you're going to do it, right? And I understand that this is very much a horror film that just happens to be based on a Marvel property. You know, you knew right off the bat from the, gratuitous sex scene in the rowboat right off the top that it was going to be like an Aussie horror film. Sure, okay, right? But it's just so ham-handed.
Yeah, and there's ways you could have done this, like, Friday the 13th style, like you said, gratuitous nudity, swearing, hilarious cat. Like, there's ways you could have told this story with the man thing. There's ways you could have done this right. I think this is a great idea for a film. I think this is a great character to use because Marvel, the MCU, hasn't really done anything horror related yet. Yeah, they did Werewolf by Night, but that was on the borderline of horror because it was more like a fantasy epic than anything else. You could easily take this character and make a very serviceable horror movie, especially if you did it right and have the monster not understand what's happening to him. Have him kill a couple people that are innocent, like he does in the books. Like somebody comes up and he's afraid of what he looks like. He senses the fear and melts somebody in place. You could do that. But it just felt like they were trying to make three different movies and they had the Marvel license. They were like, slap that in there too. We could make it work.
One thing they did get comic accurate, though, is Man-Thing itself. So despite our earlier jokes about walking, talking coleslaw, your thoughts on Man-Thing?
I was so impressed. I was very happy when because again, for most of the movie, you just see, passing glances, you see photographers, blurry Bigfoot photos, which they kind of make a joke about that this guy, the Bigfoot chaser. So you get every once in a while like a little glimpse. You don't see in its full, 10-foot tall glory until very close to the end of the movie. And damn if it ain't Man Thing. It looks good for the time and the budget, especially. Like for everything else in this movie, I was expecting it to look like a PS1 render of something. Like I was expecting something not very serviceable. They even had the eyes, which are red lights, and the bugs from the swamp are buzzing in its eyes, which is also from the book. I was like, wow, of all things, at least they got the look of him right. I think it looked pretty good for what it was.
Yeah, on a $5 million budget, that came out exactly as it, and you need that to come out exactly because if you have asylum level CGI for your, creature, it's 14% is going to be generous as far as a critic score.
And they could have cheated it too. I was very worried that it was going to be, oh, you see him, but you're only going to see like from the waist up, or you're going to see like you did see him like put his hand through people, and the aftermath of people getting killed by him was also done really well. There was practical effects in this that were done pretty good too, like the dead bodies, the one that had the root growing out of his mouth, and there was that whole scene with the coroner where he's like, "This is the weird thing. This is not getting put into him. This is growing from the inside out," and the body was shown. I'm like, okay, there is some things where they did hit with this, and they didn't just give you passing glances. There are several shots of Man-Thing doing a bunch of random nonsense. Like there's shots of him lumbering through the swamp from far away. You see a shot of him transforming and kind of like coming up and his tentacles coming out of his back and like attacking people. They did stretch their legs a bit and do a lot with that. So at least when it was time to like have your big curtain up reveal, here's what we're dealing with here, they did do that very well.
Yeah. And the fact that they do pull off those scenes well means that you know, their restraint in not showing us Man-Thing until at least halfway through the film makes that payoff that much better.
Yep. I will. The one thing they did well in the Man-Thing movie was Man-Thing itself, which you always have to give them props for. I think the only shady CGI we saw was when the explosion happened and he got enveloped in fire, and then it looked very Spawn movie. It did look very that was dicey. But all the way down to when, a ridiculous plot point where Scheist is dead, so that means Man-Thing's job is over, even though he killed so many people that didn't have anything to do with Scheist. 47 dead people, not all of them could have worked for him. But as soon as Scheist is dead, Man-Thing looks down at the ground, sees the burning oil rig, realizes, and he melts back down into the ground. That melting back down into the ground looked pretty friggin' good for 2005. I'm still not entirely convinced there wasn't some practical effects mixed with
there were practical effects in there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There had to be.
And the other thing too is those moments where we got Man-Thing, like the full on Man-Thing, like those moments were shot and designed and lit with, like, they were comic panels come to life. So whoever the cinematographer was on this film knew exactly where to put the juice in the film.
Yes, and the lighting. I know it's a weird thing to say, but the lighting for me was actually very well done.
Yeah.
When they go, because you're filming in a swamp, obviously, in Australia. Like, you're filming outside in Australia. They did get it to look like a swamp in Louisiana. And it's very interesting to see that they made the dark water the regular town and just the regular swamp that isn't the magical part of the swamp. I don't know how to explain it better than that. They made them look like three distinct areas. And I think the best looking part of the movie is when the two buffoons are out in their little rinky-dink boats, and one of them unfortunately dies while taking a dump and kind of ruins the quality of what I'm talking about. That is one of the better scenes in the movie, because you're right, it is a comic book panel come to life. There's these two guys, they've been separated, they're out in the middle of the woods, and the really dark green lighting tones they use when Man-Thing shows up it looks good. I just wish there was a script built around it.
Yeah. Visually, this film can be applauded, despite some of the really bad transitions and whatnot that looked like they were done by asylum editors, and some of the quote unquote camera trickery that was happening. Script wise, it leaves a lot to be desired.
It did, however, have one of the characters we didn't talk about. I have to put this in. Will Zappa. William Zappa plays Gerber, who is the one that when Kyle is walking away, he's kind of one of the right-hand men of Scheist, and he just says, this is a dark corner of the world. You better keep your lights on. Who is this Don Knotts impersonator? Because every time he came on the screen, I was like, okay, the Apple Dumpling Gang is here to stop Man-Thing.
And the funny thing is that character is named after the creator of the Man-Thing character.
Yes. And I had to make reference to that as well. But every time he comes onto the screen, I'm like, that is the reincarnation of Don Knotts. He's here. He's here fighting swamp monsters in rural Louisiana, apparently.
But the other thing, too, is the real life Steve Gerber is not just the creator of Howard the Duck and not just the creator of Man-Thing. He is also the voice of Grimlock on the original G1 Transformers cartoon.
I knew this was going to come up. As soon as I started doing this, I was looking up Man-Thing, and that was one of his cliff notes in his Wikipedia. I was like, oh, that's coming up. That's most definitely getting talked about on the pod.
What? A Transformers G1 reference not getting mentioned here? Come on.
You will, the 7 degrees of separation will always with you go back to Rom the Space Knight, Transformers, or Spirit Box. There's one or the other.
That somehow, some way, it's going to happen. All right, Lyle, it is time. Who is your MVP from Man-Thing?
So this was a struggle because I almost want the MVP to be Man-Thing. Like, I would the CGI conglomeration that is Man-Thing could very well be the MVP of this movie, because once he does show up, he does look good. And that is when the movie gets the most interesting. The last 20 minutes when they're hunting this thing in the woods and everybody's in on it now, they know it's real and it's not this weird like swamp crime noir. But I had to go with an actual actor that gets like speaking screen time because I felt like that was a bit of a cop out. So it's got to be Jack Thompson as Shiest. I Yeah, he's campy. Yeah, it's heavy fisted, but everything in this movie is, and he is the one person in this movie that is acting with some emotion. And every time he came on screen, I was like, what funny bit is he going to do about this guy not being from Louisiana? The bit with his son when they get in the car and he's just like, can't trust anyone, not even your own kid. Like he's just this Yosemite Sam character, and I really, really do like him. Not not extremely comic accurate to how Shiest was in the books, but a very serviceable comic book villain, especially one that doesn't get to play against the actual source material hero very much.
Yeah.
So you had a lot working against him, and he did it well.
See, I'm going to take the cop out because my MVPs are the Makeup Effects Group of Australia. That's the team that put together the Man-Thing costume, but also Conan Stevens, who's the guy in the costume that was on set. By the way, Conan Stevens, probably better known as the Mountain, Gregor Clegane in the first season of Game of Thrones.
Wait a minute. The Mountain was Man-Thing?
The Mountain from the first season. They did change actors throughout the season.
I want to change my answer. Is there givesies backsies on this show? I don't know all the rules. Now that I know that makes it all the cooler. I did not know that he was the guy in the suit. I didn't connect that, but that makes sense because you need somebody massive, right? And that's him.
That's the thing. Conan Stevens is an over 7 foot tall Australian actor and wrestler.
Oh yes.
And
As you have to be. If you are that big and look like that, wrestling comes to you. You don't have to go to wrestling.
Yeah, you can't teach 7 feet tall.
No, you can't teach that, as Enzo Amore would say for all my wrestling fans out there. It's true. If you have a physiology, they will go to you and offer you the bell if you want it. But yeah, that's the makeup effects team is a great MVP for this because they shine. Like a movie like this has no right to have practical and CGI effects that hit as well as they do.
All right, so I'm going to ask you this before we wrap things up here, because obviously it's a horror film and kind of lives in that horror genre. It's also a comic book film. Of those two groups of fandom, who do you recommend this film more to?
Ooh, horror fans, because if you read Man-Thing, and there are diehard fans. We were talking about obscure comic book people earlier with Long Shot, and all those characters that they had the rights to. You go into these movies with expectations. When Guardians of the Galaxy was made, there were some hardcore Guardians of the Galaxy fans that were hanging on every piece of news that came out about that movie, hoping to God that Rocket Raccoon was in it. Because he's my favorite character. So if you're a big hardcore Man-Thing fan, you're going to come out of this disappointed. Because a lot of what makes that character good, the human element that's lost, there's a man in there inside the thing that's trying to remember who he was and what happened, and his wife betrayed him, and he was this big scientist. All of that is gone. It is not there. And you do not get your Man-Thing fix until very late in the movie. For horror fans that don't give a about the Marvel side of it and just want to see people get exploded by a giant tree beast, you're going to have a decent time because that's what this is. If you tear away the Marvel, Man-Thing didn't exist in Marvel. This is an original movie that this company made for itself. It is a passable B slasher. So I think the horror fans enjoy it more.
Yeah, something that you could easily see being done by a streaming service like Shudder these days.
Absolutely. This could be a Shudder original. Like I said, if you take all of the Marvel tags off of it. But yeah, as a Marvel fan and somebody who is familiar with the character, I was disappointed just because all of the good bits of that character are not here.
All right, Lyle, thank you so much for this. Now, remind our listeners what you've been up to and where they can find you out there on the interwebs.
I am still a producer at Anthem Sports and Entertainment. I'm deep in the doldrums of TNA wrestling. So watch your TNA every Thursday night on AMC now.
Nice. All right. Until next time, dear listeners, you guys know the drill. If there is a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned or is so bad that there's no way in an Australian bayou swamp that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on social media at Not That Badcast or go to our website, at notthatbadcast.com. And as I'm sure as Lyle is ready to tell you, March is around the corner, which can only mean one thing: the return of Grading on a Curve, the Razzies special.
I am ready to get hurt again.
Until next time, he's Lyle, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Selling your car shouldn't feel like a second job. It should feel easy. With Carvana, it is. Just visit Carvana.com, enter your license plate or VIN, answer a few quick questions, and get an offer in minutes. Like what you see? We'll pick it up right from your door and hand you your check. No haggling, no hassle, no problem. Car selling made easy on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.